Hello everyone, my name is V, and today I would like to share some really lovely stories with you. You know, we all know these stories about entitled parents and terrible people doing terrible things and really satisfying, albeit sometimes grim revenge stories. But you know, every now and then you just want to hear something good, nice and wholesome. Something that would restore your faith in humanity and maybe put a smile on your beautiful face and make your day a little brighter. So let's hit up Faith in Humanity and try to do just that. My guardian angel came when I really needed him most today. I was literally sobbing because of my financial issues that were leading to more issues and basically messing up everything in my life. I was short a small amount of money for something that would impact my whole life and was essential for me to move forward with things. Getting this exact amount of money would indirectly be the reason I am able to get a job, stay out of debt and even eat. I was sitting there trying to come up with any possible way to get this money legally, on top of what I already earned from working. I don't make enough to even eat 3 meals a day from working. When suddenly I get a message on my PayPal that hasn't been used for about 6 years due to not having funds to put in there. It said $80 has been received from name, which is exactly the amount of money I needed. Which is amazing because I thought I needed 75 but turns out needed 80 and that's the exact amount sent to me. I don't know who this person is or how they managed to do this because they have no way of knowing what I needed right then because they didn't even know me. But this person and their kindness towards me, a complete stranger, changed my life and asked for nothing in return. My faith in humanity and maybe even God are restored. Bless this person and the love they showed me. I know it's just $80 but they really did change my life. Now this story is really amazing because it sounds so surreal, like a scene from a movie where the main hero is at a complete loss of hope and then this stranger ex machina just saves the day. It's just fascinating to realize that a complete stranger, yeah, maybe he was a friend of a friend, but still willing to donate your hard-earned cash to someone so selflessly and expecting nothing in return really warms my heart. Good on you, mate. I'm a recovering heroin addict. I've been clean 6 years now. During my time as a worthless junkie piece of poop, which lasted a full decade, my childhood friend was often my backup connection for drugs. When I couldn't get in touch with my dealer, I'd go through him. Long story short, I ended up loaning a lot of money to my friend so he could support his habit. Even when I didn't need him for a score, I'd still help him out if he called me up, dope sick needing money to get well. I held a good job that paid well, and still do, while he was down and out, doing whatever it took to survive. Therefore, I justified it by thinking he'd start stealing or do worse things to get money if I didn't. I never remembered exactly how much money I loaned him. He always promised to pay me back, but it was a lot. 6 years ago, my boss found out about my addiction and gave me 2 choices. I go to rehab and get clean, then return to work when I'm healthy, or continue to use and get fired. I chose rehab. Part of getting clean was to cut ties with anyone I used with, which meant my childhood best friend. I told him what was up and offered to pay his way into a treatment facility, but he declined. So I deleted his number and didn't hear from him again. Until last week. I get a message on social media. Hey, I'm clean, let's meet up. Turns out he ended up using for another 5 years, nearly dying twice from an overdose before being court-ordered into a drug rehabilitation center. Now he's working for his old man's company. Before we leave, he hands me kind of a heavy envelope and tells me I can't open it until I get home. I opened the envelope to find $2,980 in it, along with an old piece of notebook paper that had dates written on it with cash figures next to each one. Turns out he kept track of every dollar I loaned him over the years. Wow. So not only did he manage to get clean after all these years, he actually held up his part of the bargain and honored his promise. It's really astonishing considering that they hadn't spoken for 5 years? And he still went out of his way to restore contact and pay back his debt? I don't know, it's really awe-inspiring. I'm so proud of these guys and I hope they're really doing well. My youngest sibling was born at 24 weeks when my mom had complete placenta previa. Placenta completely detaches and basically she goes into immediate labor. He was born in June and spent the whole summer in the newborn intensive care unit. Didn't come home until September. Because every day was a guess whether he would survive or not, my parents were always there with him when they weren't at work to potentially spend their last minutes with him. He suffered multiple strokes, seizures, and ended up with a trach for 2 years. During that summer, somehow someone from either my parents' church or the neighborhood found out about the situation. My parents had tried to keep it to the DL because they didn't know if he was going to make it. So people from their church and neighbors we had never met came every single day for 3 months to bring us casserole dishes, desserts, any kind of food to make sure all my siblings, including the baby, there are 10 of us, and I were all well fed and that my parents didn't have to worry about money while struggling with hospital bills. These were people who many we had never met before. People that were friends or relatives of the churchgoers who heard about it and wanted to help. Eventually, my parents asked the pastor to request that they just kept baby Joe in their prayers because people were so generous we had plenty of supplies. Every time I go back home and see the happy, completely healthy little 6-year-old, I'm reminded that there is indeed some good in the world. I wish I knew all of these people so I could thank them profusely for everything they did. It was so hard being 16 and taking care of all my siblings, not to mention constantly worrying about Joe and if the last time I saw him would be the last time I would ever see him. It made a huge impact on my life to see complete strangers go out of their way to take care of a group of kids they didn't even know. What an amazing, wholesome story. You know, this is what I imagine when I think of the word community. People helping each other at the best of their ability, just going out of their way to make sure everything is alright and everyone is doing well and getting by. It's so lovely. I really wish there were more of these stories, and I really hope that I will encounter more of these stories. I just love it so much. I just started my 2nd year on something called People High School, which is a thing in Norway, but I don't know if other countries have it. At the People High School, you choose what you want to do, like music, game design, theater, and stuff like that. So there is usually a high concentration of people with quirks like me. I have social anxiety, depression, and other stuff. This year there are new students. People High School lasts 1 year and I chose to apply again at the same school but different topic. And I did the same thing I did last year, but this year it had a really big impact. Here begins the thing I did to inspire a lot of them. So every year at this school they organize a trip to the same place. The trip is to get to know each other. The school has around 100 students. And the first day of the trip they have an open stage night where the students can show the other students stuff like playing the flute, playing piano, reciting a poem, stuff like that. Last year I decided last second that I would go on stage and have an AMA, Ask Me Anything, so people would get to know me and maybe I would inspire someone else with social anxiety to dare to contact and make friends. When I did this last year, everyone at school became more comfortable with each other and were not as afraid to take contact with each other, but this year the response to my attempt at inspiring the other people with social anxiety was literally breathtaking. So I did my AMA and people asked a lot of super personal questions like what like really personal stuff. By the way, after I introduced myself at the start, I told them to ask super personal questions to increase the chance of showing someone with social anxiety that a person like me with social anxiety can share super personal, weird stuff and still get accepted. So I answered all questions honestly and held nothing back. I finished and got a big round of applause. While the next person was on stage, I felt tapping on my shoulder. I turned around and saw this girl I had noticed a few days earlier at school. She has extreme social anxiety and hides behind her hands every time someone gets close. She even had 3 or 4 anxiety attacks the first day at school. After turning around, I smiled at her and said quietly, "Hello." I don't remember word by word, but she asked me while hiding behind her hands and looking me deep in my eyes, "Do you think I could go on stage like you did and share?" I carefully rested my hand on her shoulder and said, "If you want to, I believe you can do anything you want to." After saying that, I saw a glimmer of relief and hope in her eyes I haven't seen in anyone. She went up on stage in front of all of us, all 100, and talked about herself and her feelings. She even answered questions. After her, 2 or 3 more people with social anxiety went up on stage and shared. I have never been more proud and happy than those moments yesterday. And all it took was for me to be brave enough to show that it was alright to be afraid, but everyone is, and they will accept you because you are beautiful exactly the way you are. I hope this story inspires someone out there. Well, Nate, I'm gonna tell you it inspired me because I don't have a case of social anxiety, but in my wildest dreams I wouldn't imagine standing in front of a crowd of 100 people and talking about such personal things and preferences. Like, this shows some next level of bravery that even I, without social anxiety, would not be able to, brave. Let alone someone who is uncomfortable and afraid of talking in front of a crowd. So, mighty proud of you and mighty proud of what you did. And I really hope it did inspire some people out there because, you know, even the strongest people need some words of encouragement sometimes. And it's really easy to do. So I work at a movie theater, and in that theater is a thing that's like a restaurant theater hybrid. I work as a food runner there. I went to go and get an ice a customer wanted, and because it was the rush, I had other stuff to do. I ran down the stairs and I trip and I hear a loud crack right in the middle of the theater. At the time I thought for sure I broke it because of the crack. I fall down the stairs and catch myself on the railing. Right away people are asking me if I'm hurt and making sure I'm okay in the beginning of the movie. 2 men helped escort me out of the theater because I was in a lot of pain, and they put me down on a couch right outside of the theater. When I fell down, it just so happens that I fell down right next to a nurse, so she stayed with me and helped me until the ambulance arrived to take me to the hospital. Seriously, to these people who helped me with this, I cannot thank you enough. That's just really sweet and stands in such good contrast to all these terrible stories about people ignoring others in pain and in need. It goes to show how easy it actually is to help someone in peril and maybe even save them one way or another. Or at least make their day. That's it for today. Thank you guys for listening. This was V sharing some wholesome, faith-inspiring stories. I really hope you enjoyed them and they somehow inspired you to also try and make the world a better place. By the way, if you have any wholesome stories of your own or of someone you know, don't shy away from sharing them in the comments and maybe I will read them out in the next video. And of course, if you have any comments and suggestions on how I could make such videos better in the future, please leave them in the comments as well. You have a great day now, lads and lasses. Cheers!